management lessons or leadership lessons would you like to share in such a vast journey where you have handled a male-dominated world, and at that time, very few ladies came venture into the world of personnel management or industrial relations or labor unions or strikes or lockouts, that kind of violent environment. What learning would you have to share for all the fraternity of this group?
My first view is that all management starts with self-management and all leadership starts with self-leadership.
Dr. Singh खुश हो गया.
I think Dr. Singh, our views looks like resonate with each other.
Yes. I took a session for about 3 hours on this only.
All right. I was really impressed with that, virtual lamp lighting ceremony, and where you Vaktund Mahakaya and then excellence, values, and tradition. Very, very few people really talk about Indian traditions and values and those things. They just follow the English format. So I was really impressed, and my compliments to you for that, following that format.
Thank you, madam.
All right. First thing I said was all leadership is self-leadership and all management is self-management. And when I started my career journey, first in the aims, I was slightly lost, found my way, and very soon I moved out to, I discovered I was not in the right place because that job was medical social worker come counselor. I went to industry in NTPC. When I said self-management and self-leadership, when I joined, I had 3-4 people reporting to me, but I did not know where the files started. That time in the old era, the file started from the end. You had to start with reading it from the last page, and then there were green sheets, noting sheets, and all that. And how to maintain a file, I really did not know. When I asked a couple of people, they made fun of me. And that was my first lesson to learn. Develop competence in yourself, wherever you join, whatever you do. What happens in that company? What is your role? And how do you do it? That was the first lesson. So in NTPC, I joined in 1984, and the company had started somewhere in 1975, became functional around 80. To know about the company, when some people made fun of me, officer ban ke aa gaye hain, pata to hai nahi kuch. That was the comment one of my juniors who was reporting to me made, and that has stayed with me till date. So my self-learning and self-leadership started. I went around digging into old Almira's files, asking to seniors to give me the Almira keys going to stores, starting from Office Order 001, first policy letter which NTPC had issued. Till I joined, what all had happened. And this practice, whenever I changed my job, any company I went to, I started initially digging into two things. Today we are in the digital era. Everything is available on the internet. Companies have websites. That was not the time. Internet was also not there. So whatever old files I could dig into, I could find, I could go to seniors. And the oldest policy matters and all that, I would go and initial few days just sinking my head into the files as much as I could know about that company. That is where I started every job. And the best experience was with DCM Group. Sriram Pistons I worked for, and Sir Charatram, industry icon, people know it. DCM Group in its time was one of the top 5 industrial houses of the country. Iconic. And I was lucky Sir Sriram was still alive. And fortunately for me, unfortunately for the company, but fortunately for me, general manager, HR, and seniors, couple of people were there who had left, and I was only assistant manager there. But almost for good 1 year, I was ipso facto acting as the HR head of Sriram Pistons. And Sir Charatram used to come to the office once in a while, once in 2-3 months. Lala Charatram. Yes. Iconic personality. People used to tremble looking at him. And I went to, my bosses, sent me to his house also to get some papers signed and all that. Attending meetings chaired by Sir Charatram. And policy writing, I would say that one of the top few companies where mastery of how do you write a personal policy or any policy for the organization. Policy writing in itself is an art. When I dug into that, their policy, their old files, how do you write policies? That was one thing I learned, and which I practiced in all my subsequent companies, and even till today. In my consulting domain, some companies approached me to write their HR manuals, and I followed the best practices there, some of the best ideas. And one thing which was best there at that point of time, it was not a dead system in DCM. Every policy document at the end would have, this policy is valid for 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 years, whatever, 2-3 years, will come up for review in this 1 month. Before, they had a system, that was manual, but they had a system that diary dispatch clerk, if the policy is expiring on 31st August, so 1st of August, he will send a flag to the concerned HOD. This policy of your department will come to an end after 1 month, so please review it. So if it has to be carried on, that HOD takes over. If it is to be reviewed, they will review. If it is some changes to be made, they will make it. Otherwise, it goes on. That was one thing. And another good thing there was, in case of any controversy or any difficulty in interpretation, the interpretation of the owner department will be final. If it's an accounts related policy, accounts department's interpretation is acceptable. Sales policy, sales and marketing department's explanation is final. HR policy, HR's final. So some of the very, very finer aspects of the policy, then nobody told me that. I just picked up on my own, and later when couple of times when I found the time, I went to my boss and asked him. I was reporting to the director, sir, what is the meaning of this policy? So that was one lesson when I said all leadership is, you are very lucky. For the students, I'm saying you are very, very lucky if you find a very good mentor, guide, coach in your boss. If you don't find that, or your boss is not taking direct interest, take interest in your own grooming, in your own learning, in your own development. When I say all management is self-management, now I'm coming to that was leadership oriented point. This is self-management point. Everything what the boss tells, you keep on waiting for the instructions. People keep on waiting for the instructions for the boss to give instruction, and then you do it. I believe where required, you wait for the instructions. Where not required, be on your own and keep moving. Be on your own and keep moving. For example, anything you do when you are working, I believe it has three aspects. One aspect is what is to be done today. Your boss tells you, do it right now. Second aspect is today you have done the assignment. But how did you do? What are the working sheets, working formulae, working systems, background information? Systematically collating and preserving that information, because 3 months, 6 months, 1 year down the line, somebody is going to raise a question on that, and then people would start, I fumbled. That is how I learned it. Then you keep on, putting the whole thing together. Oh, where is my working sheet? How did I had at one point of time massive responsibility of MIS, and especially G4S when that was my last this thing, more than 1 lakh guards across the country, and whole lot of different things. Putting MIS together in itself was a issue. Somebody raising a question 3 months later, you don't know how did you work out with that formula and that much of rate of turnover rate and all that. So once you do an assignment, preserving the background working and background information systematically is very important, so that tomorrow, whether you are on that seat or not, any senior person asking a background question, you should be able to answer. Third important aspect of the job is being proactive, anticipating, knowing where your department is going. When you are in a junior position, naturally what your boss is doing, what are his priorities, where your department is going. And if you are in a senior position, then where your company is going. Anticipating what your boss may ask you tomorrow, and silently, proactively preparing for that also. Most of the time, most people, what my observation has been in industry, they just focus on currently what is the job at hand. They are done with that, and that's it. What I say, समेटो उस काम को पीछे से और अगला क्या करना है वो सोचिए. Preserving background information and then moving forward. That's another thing which nobody is going to tell you, which is not you are not going to find it in the books. Taking initiative. Now I'm coming to self leadership. Taking initiative, that's very important. And I'll share a real life story. I was in NTPC Badarpur power station. Those days we used to have 6 days a week, and general manager was beaten up very, very brutally. 468 people put in Tihar jail and whole lot of things. And that was my early starting point in my career. Just about 8-9 months I had just joined the NTPC, and this episode happened. Management put in massive efforts to handle this situation. Control room was created, which was functioning around the clock, and a batch of 5 of us at the induction level was hired. Everybody was assigned responsibility except me, and I, for first 3 for 5 days, I kept on watching people going here, there, this, that, what not happening, and I was just sitting. At that point of time, my boss didn't even have the time to tell me anything. What job should I do apart from very routine, ongoing things? So for about 1 week, 10 days, I watched what was happening. Then I went to my boss and I asked, sir, you have allocated responsibilities to everyone. You have not given me any job. You've not associated me in this entire process. And my boss immediately said, Mrs. Wadhwa, you are a very young lady. You have very small 2 children. This may require dealing with unions. This may require staying on late. And this you may be required to come on Sundays. And when you come on Sunday or otherwise, there may be Zindabad, Murdabad, there may be Giraus. How will you handle? You will not be able to handle such a tough situation. And my reply to my boss was, sir, you have not given me any responsibility and you have concluded that I will not be able to handle this.
Wow. Wow.
That
Wow.
was, and that was Badarpur to my home. That was, once you miss that company's chartered bus, you have to come in ordinary DTC bus, and Badarpur area was not a very safe area in that point
I
of
know.
time.
I know.
In the evenings, I'm saying for the young students, in the evening it was not a safe place. But I told my boss, without allocating any responsibility to me, you have decided and concluded that I will not be able to handle this.